Hey everybody, my name is Rydo, and it turns out that there is a developer commentary for the game Gone Home. So I just recorded the series of Gone Home, and this will be very spoiler filled. So go check out that series first on my channel before you come in start with this. So we're gonna run through the game with almost the exact same settings. The only thing I'm gonna do different is on language. We're gonna turn off the overlay text because it didn't work half the time anyways, which kinda sucks. And then we click to get to the developer commentary. You start a new game. Then you go over here to modifiers, which this is a really weird way to have it. That should be on the main menu. Uh, I'm this big old scary cat, even though we've been through the whole game and we know there's really nothing scary at all. I'm just going to turn on all the lights at the beginning. And I could unlock all the doors, but then that would make it a little bit more difficult to uh, go through the critical path of the game. And then you just down here click enable commentary. Note you can't disable the voice diaries and have the commentary turned on, but I am going to try to avoid picking up voice diaries. It I played around with this. It looks like you could beat the entire game with getting only one or two voice diaries, which means I might very well have missed some in our first playthrough. Possible.
Hi, Mom. So I got my ticket home from Europe. I get back on June 6th, but it's a really late flight because that was the cheapest, so it gets in at midnight. But don't worry, I'll get a shuttle from the airport so you don't have to pick me up. Like, really seriously, you don't have to. Okay, so, love you. See you soon. Bye.
So we're gonna go 40-minute episodes for the commentary. So I'm doubling the length just so we get through it a little bit faster. This is definitely an experiment in both cases because I've never recorded 20-minute episodes like I did the first series, and I've never really recorded 40-minute episodes for a relatively short series. You still get some flickering lights, but not a ton. And you can see, like, this lamp is already on. So you have the Fullbright Company's logo here is how you activate commentary. And I'm going to, from my first playthrough, you saw that I went around and picked up items and threw them on the floor and made a huge mess, which would have in the game and in the story of the game been really hard to explain to my parents why all the doors were open and there was just garbage all over the floors, uh, when you really don't have to do any of that. So I'm gonna mostly avoid opening areas unless I think there might be a commentary in it, and I doubt there will be that much, and I'm definitely not going to be picking up things and just tossing it like that very much.
Hi, I'm Steve Gaynor. I'm the co-founder of the Fullbright Company. We made Gone Home. I was the writer and designer, and thank you for taking a look at our commentary mode. You can find an icon like the one you just clicked on. You can find out a little bit more about the game. I want to thank everybody who's added commentary. Yanman and Carla, my co-founders of the company, Kate Craig, our 3D artist, Chris Remo, our composer, Sarah Grayson, the voice of Sam Greenbrier, and Corin Tucker, the lead singer of Heavens to Betsy and Sleater-Kinney and other awesome bands. So thank you, everybody, and enjoy commentary.
So if the doors were unlocked, if that modifier was on, I could just click on this door and get in. And that would actually make it too easy because I could actually run straight to the attic and be done with the game. Let's see.
So Christmas duck. is a fan favorite. He's kind of a mascot, I guess, and I think that's partly because it's a weird concept, a Christmas duck, and partly because it's like the first unique thing that you encounter in the game. It's kind of personified as like a little character, but the thing is, Christmas duck was not planned. When we were starting the project, we didn't have a 3D modeler because Kate came on a couple months after we started, and we needed a bunch of 3D models, and so I was just going through the Unity asset store. So I was going through the list and saw this Christmas duck, and I was like, "What is that?" Okay, and I grabbed it, and we used it as like a test object just to set up the system where you can grab stuff and carry it around. And then I ended up saying, "All right, we got this Christmas duck, I'll hide the key under it." And instead of replacing the free model with a totally different thing, just made a real version of it, and Carla modeled it, and Kate textured it, and we kept him in the game, and we're glad, because he's everybody's little friend. Good old Christmas duck.
So, interesting, the Christmas duck is a Unity bot asset. Question I had when playing this game is how much of these 3D models were bought from Unity store and how many were handmade, and some stuff you definitely know was handmade. If you're seeing text on paper, like a note, that was probably handmade. But the tissue boxes, the lamps, the doors, the outlets, the floors, hardly it's hardly a guaranteed that all of that stuff was handmade. It would just be inefficient use of time. Something like this is probably handmade. These clothes, perhaps not. Even like Goodfellow Elementary School might very well be something that they bought. Let's click this and see.
The Goodfellow High School jacket and the logo generally is a reference to the logo for Minerva's Den, the section of Rapture that DLC takes place in, that we worked on together. But we didn't want to make it look exactly like the owl logo from that game. We wanted it to be, an homage or a reference or whatever.
Yeah, so we decided that since this is a Pacific Northwest school and town and setting, that we would go for some native style representation. And let's see.
Well, actually, we were struggling with it for a little while because we wanted. At first, I was saying, just make it look like a very 90s looking school mascot logo illustration that's just cheap that maybe one of the students did or something, and the direction wasn't good enough, and we didn't really have a good enough example to work from. And then Kate actually came to visit.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And she suggested, oh, what if it's like a Pacific Northwest Native American style approach, and that really just clicked and made total sense.
So, it's kind of interesting. Ooh, here's something I think I missed. Have a doggone cool 17th birthday from Uncle Harvey. We never even found this in the game.
Yeah, the biggest purpose of the card was, to say, oh, Sam is 17, if you look for this thing. But there's so much, we need so much handwriting in the game, especially for like one-off characters, that you don't see their handwriting more than once. And we knew we needed a birthday card from some member of Sam's more extended family that you were never going to hear from again. And so I was like, okay, it could be her uncle. And as an Easter egg, kind of like wink and nod thing, like, we're fans of, the Looking Glass legacy of games and Deus Ex and Dishonored, and so I got in contact with Harvey Smith, who is the lead designer of Deus Ex and the co-creative lead of Dishonored, and asked if he would just write on a piece of paper, "Happy Birthday, Sam," from Uncle Harvey. And he just took a picture with his cell phone. And
Yeah, like 5 minutes after you asked him, it was amazing. He was just like, "Yes, I will do this immediately."
Yeah,
It was the best.
Interesting.
He took a picture with his cell phone, and it was really cool. Harvey's a great guy, and I love his games, and we're super honored to have his signature in the hub of the Greenbrier House.
Hell yeah.
That's definitely interesting. I kind of upset that I missed it. So I want to go first here and just say major spoilers coming up. You can open the secret panels immediately. So you could run in there, you could get the key to the attic and do all of that just to begin with. I'm surprised there isn't a commentary with the skull. I thought the skull was more important, but maybe they don't. Even though we have the modifier that with all the lights turned on, you can still turn them off, by the way. So there's definitely a letter here I could click and read, but that's not what we're here for. We're here for just the commentary. I'm gonna try to do a better job about having the subtitles on and not looking at things that might turn off the subtitles. Come on, let me open this door. Not that there's anything in there. I'm glad that these commentaries go dim as bulbs.
Hello, my name is Kate Craig, and I was creating a lot of the environment assets for the game. Not all of them, some of them I had help with, which I'll touch on a little later, but most of the stuff like the walls and the floors, some of the larger pieces of furniture were my doing, and I'm going to be talking about some of the environmental storytelling aspects in Gone Home. I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't mention the work that my wife Emily Carroll did on the project. She did the house title image that we've used for our wallpapers and for the start screen of the game. She did the loading cassette tape, and she did the maps in the house. And actually, Carla made a font out of her handwriting because we wanted something that was just a little bit spooky, maybe a little ominous, but something that sort of suited the tone of the game. I was really glad to be working with her, and I was really glad that the other guys were too. We had a really good time. And people have responded quite positively to her title screen, which is something that I really appreciate, and I know she does too.
I'm noticing that this staircase, a lot of things, because they're Unity assets, and you can almost certainly scale those assets to any size you need it, I think the scale is off. Like this lamps that I've seen like that would have been a foot higher above that point. Well, sorry, 1 second. I'm in the middle of a storm myself in real life while I'm recording this, and my TV is not plugged into my battery backup, so it just lost power. Don't worry, it's back now. The audio's back. But so, like I was saying, the lamps here would normally be about a foot higher. That picture would probably be a little bit bigger. These bookcases are really big. This staircase is way too wide. I played with the field of perspective, making the image wider or narrower, and while that does help with it rendering frames and not being as sluggish as it could be at maximum settings, it doesn't really fix the perspective issue. That just a matter of scale was not held as close as I think most games are. Nothing in the bathroom as far as commentary. I thought there was going to be something about this itinerary, a puzzle or something. No, not really. There is some timeline issues about this game that mostly get explained, that the parents are away at their anniversary / couples therapy meeting, and yep, that thunder, if you hear that right now, that's actually outside of my house. which double spooky here. We've got a spooky house being rained on in the game, and I'm recording in the middle of a horrible thunderstorm. But yeah, to get back to the timeline, it seems like I managed to come back like some what would have only been a few days, weeks, or maybe a couple months after Lonnie graduated from high school and was shipping out to the military. And it happened to be the same time that I think Sam graduates, or maybe she doesn't even graduate, maybe she just runs away. Again, this is all going to be full spoilers. But it's also the same week that the parents go on their trip, and it's also the same week that the parents find out about Sam and Lonnie, I think. Or maybe that doesn't happen then. I don't know. That's kind of the problem, is if I had looked at the voice logs and the exact dates, it seems like a heck of a lot of things happened all right next to each other.
Oh man, mom handwriting. We went through a lot of different moms for handwriting. A lot of different moms contributed handwriting for our game. At first, let's see, how did we do it? What were we doing first? I think I just did it and it wasn't great. And then we had Emily do it, but her handwriting was used so heavily in other parts of the game that we had to find someone else. And I think we actually had Jan try to do it for a while before he used Dad's handwriting. And then we got Jan's mom, and she was ideal for it. Really good mom handwriting. Yeah.
These commentaries aren't really going into long conversations, but I don't know if all games should do like handwritten things. The problem with handwriting is when it's very easy to have trouble reading somebody's handwriting, particularly if they're of an older generation that writes in cursive and makes it a little bit difficult to read. This handwriting's not bad, but you can't zoom in on it, and the text overlay is disabled right now because it didn't work, which is a shame that it didn't work. This game also has other translations that are fan translations, so by default you don't get any of those. And I imagine that would just be a huge mess to try and translate all of these images yet again into some other language. I will say this house is still extremely creepy, even with all the lights on. The storm does it. It's unfortunate that there really doesn't seem like a way you could just play this game and not have a spooky atmosphere. You could go in here and try to turn off like sound effects maybe, and that might help. But you're still going to be in a spooky house. Lights on occasion, even with the modifier of all the lights on, are still going to flicker every now and then. It's still just going to be this big open thing. So I would very much like to be able to experience this story in a different way, where it wasn't wrapped around spookiness. I don't know how you could really do that other than perhaps going up to the attic, standing in front of the journal, and then replaying all of the audio things and forgetting all about the rest of the game.
Hi, I'm Chris Remo, the composer on Gone Home. In my commentary tracks, I'm going to be talking a little bit about what went into creating the original music soundtrack for the game. Gone Home is an unusual game, musically speaking, in that it consists of two distinct music soundtracks. But one of those probably more frequently commented on is the collection of licensed Riot Girl songs that the player finds in Sam's cassette tapes strewn around the house. The other one is the original music that accompanies the player's undirected exploration of the house and underscores almost every one of Sam's audio diary recordings. When Steve first asked me to do music for Gone Home, I was really excited about it, but there are almost no parameters for what that meant in terms of format or scope. Having played an early build of the game, I started by just doing a few musical sketches with no real regard for length or usage, mainly consisting of vintage electric piano sounds like Wurlitzers and Fender Rhodes. I chose those instruments because I wanted sounds that would feel at home in the era of the game. The Twin Peaks soundtrack used a lot of Rhodes, for example, but would also blend into the background and not share much tone in common with the abrasive Riot Girl guitars. Some of the instrumentation and ideas changed from those first sketches, but they also contained one of the main themes that ended up accompanying Sam's arc throughout the final game.
So, looking at my clock right now, we're 20 minutes in. That would have been this whole episode if I was going with 20-minute episodes for the commentary like I did the game. And I feel like I talked and speculated a lot more and looked at a lot more things, and actually probably accomplished something in those 20 minutes the first run. But for the director's commentary, I think we're just going to try to focus and go for 40 minutes. I definitely want feedback whether people think 40-minute episodes is good for director's commentaries, or it should have been 40-minute episodes all the time, or it should have been 20-minute episodes all the time, or something in between, or something completely different.
Hi, this is Corin Tucker from Heavens to Betsy. And Heavens to Betsy was a band that formed in 1991, actually. And I actually got the idea for joining a band when I moved to Olympia, Washington, and became a fan of the music scene there. And it seemed like everyone was in a band. So I decided I was going to start a band too. But I didn't actually start the band until I went home after the first year of college. I went back to Eugene, Oregon, and my high school friend Tracy Sawyer and I started playing music together, and that was the beginning of Heavens to Betsy. So I had told, with my big mouth, I had told all my friends that I was going to start a band, and the summer of, I think it was 1991, my friend Michelle Noel booked the International Pop Underground in Olympia, Washington. And she helped organize a night at the convention called Girl Night. And it was all women musicians. So she called me and said, hey, let's get you on stage with that, you want to play the show that I'm organizing. This totally new band that had never performed before. We had never performed ever any kind of music. Got invited to play this big show at the Capitol Theater in Olympia in front of all of our musical heroes, right? Everyone from K Records, all of Fugazi was there, all of Bikini Kill was there. This music that I was a huge fan of. Suddenly, that was our very first show, the very first Heavens to Betsy show. And we were terrified, but we did it, and people loved it, and it was, it changed my life forever that night.
I'm just looking here at this custom rug. I think this is what you call a runner, but it would be very custom to this hallway. Personally, in my decoration style, I would prefer the rug to be centered and a little bit wider, particularly if it's going to be custom, and go right up to the door jamb. I don't know why I'm talking about that, but I'm I guess a slight fan of decoration. Here's the same rug that's been just less copy-pasted. In video games, it's very easy to make a custom rug. In the real world, a little bit more difficult. So we just kind of want to make sure that we have no secret things hidden around.
So here's one of Dad's pulpy JFK books. He's now moved on from primary sources to theories about how JFK was killed. However, this one purports to contain the truth. Yeah, the publishing company is a doofy inside joke because, you know, there's Harcourt Brace, the publisher that exists, and so I was trying to think of a good name for a publisher, and being a big nerd, I immediately thought of Harcourt Fenton Mudd and how he basically sounds like a publishing company, so...
You have to say who that is.
No! Alright, fine. He's an awful character from
Star Trek.
Original Star Trek, which is called Mudd's Women, and also there's another one whose name an episode I can't remember for some reason.
I'm Mudd.
Ah, fuck! Yes, okay. Thank you.
It's a Star Trek reference. You did
Yes!
it, Carla.
What?
Alright, so I would have definitely never caught that. I've seen the original Star Trek series. I don't remember his first name being Harcourt, so I'm not a super fan of Star Trek. In fact, I don't even really like the first series that much. I'm a much bigger Next Generation fan.
The doors were actually one of the hardest things in the game to get working correctly, and I know that there's still some bugs existing with the doors, actually. But it's a surprisingly hard problem, which is why most video games just have doors that kind of slide away into nothingness or open in strange ways or don't, you know, let you interact fully with doors. But of course, it's in a house like in Gone Home, a realistic house, it's important that everything be as natural as possible. The one concession we made to video gaminess is that the doors all swing both ways, which never happens in a real house, but it's necessary to prevent the player trapping themselves in some strange state.
I'm glad I was able to demonstrate that. One of the things I found, and I'll show you later if I remember, is that there is one door that is activated by a lever in this game, and if you stand in the way you can block it from completely closing, and then you have to toggle the lever twice to get it to go back to working correctly. So I was hoping there'd be a commentary there to tell us whether or not that really was their father's magazine, or if it was actually Sam's magazine, or maybe it was their father's and Sam stole it, and that's just never explained.
Here we have Fresh Magazine, which is a synthesis and pastiche of Sassy Magazine, which if you haven't looked at it, or if it wasn't, you know, something that you cared about in the early 90s, it was very feminist and, you know, strongly individualist, and actually gave good advice. It was actually really good. Anyway, so yeah, this is the type treatment. The super grungy type treatment is totally indicative. That's how it used to be. Oh yeah, and amusingly, of course, our cover model is Rachel, Steve's wife. I had to make her put on this awful light pink lipstick and do the 90s-ist stuff imaginable. And she did it.
It was your idea to put a braid in the front of her bangs?
Yes.
Yeah, that seems like... Congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
So this is... The makers of this game came off of 2K Marin, I believe, making Minerva's Den for Bioshock 2, which is usually considered the best part of Bioshock 2 by most players. And what's kind of weird, and I don't have any knowledge about it, is they created this company called the Fullbright Company, which I said in the previous commentary sounds like a light bulb company. And actually Fullbright is is a phrase for like a scholarship program. So if you search it in Google, you'll get 5 different things called Fullbright. Then one of the creators went off to make their own company again, and they called it Dim Bulb Company. That seems a little weird. Fullbright versus Dim Bulb. And it's a little weird that 4 people leave a big company to start a new company, and then one of those 4 people, or it may have been a little bit more than 4 people, split off that again. But everybody has to go their own way, and we may very well be hitting a world in which video game companies get formed to make one small independent company, then split off to make their own games later. And that's all I really have to say about it. 0451.
Inside of this file folder, you find the first combination code in the game. This code goes to Dad's locked filing cabinet, and it's 0451, which is a bit of a tradition slash in-joke amongst. I mean, it's not really an in-joke. It's just an internal reference amongst this lineage of games that hark back to immersive sims that are kind of first-person exploration games that started with Ultima Underworld and System Shock, and 451 was the first key code in System Shock, and then it was also the first key code in System Shock 2 and Deus Ex and Bioshock and most recently Dishonored. And yeah, I've personally worked on a couple of games that had 0451 as the first code in them, and we were really adherent to the tenets of the interactive model and kind of the principles of design behind those games when we were designing how Gone Home works. And so to maintain that tradition, we also made it the first code in our game.
And you made it the tattoo on your arm.
I also got a tattoo of 0451 because it is sort of a symbol of this certain philosophy of game design that's important to me. And yeah, this writing, Breaking Canon, is in Emily's handwriting. Emily's handwriting is technically only in the font that exists outside the game. She doesn't actually do the handwriting in any of the characters, but yeah, I had her write 0451 in her very distinctive handwriting, and then I got a tattoo of it and figured I would use that source image as the image that you find on the inside of this folder.
So, yeah, I have known about this code, 0451, but I have never committed it to memory. I knew it existed, and that there was a legacy amongst those games. Some of which of those games I have already covered. I covered Deus Ex Human Revolution and Deus Ex The Fall, and I am going to eventually cover Bioshock once I get some more free time. Here we go. Kubrick-wise.
One of our favorite movies is The Apartment, which was directed by Billy Wilder, and it starred Shirley MacLaine and Jack Lemmon, and it's from like 1960, and it's basically what Mad Men is, except actually from that time. It's super good, and there's this weird, like, kind of humorous vocal tick that some of the executives in the movie have, where they will refer to something like, they'll say like, we're doing quite well dividends wise or something, and Shirley MacLaine's character is named, the last name is Kubelik, and one of the executives at different times says something like, so how are you getting along Kubelik wise? So anyway, super deeply buried Easter egg reference in joke. We made the law firm Kubelik and Wise that prepared Oscar's will just as a little wink and nod, a little hardcore Fenton.
Quiet, Steve.
But yeah, The Apartment. You should watch it
It's damn worth. It's totally worth your time. It's a really good movie.
on Laserdisc.
Yeah.
I am interested about the Laserdisc. I could have sworn we would have found a Laserdisc at some point in this area, in this game, but we didn't. Some questions definitely about whether or not Sam took them, or I mean, I guess Sam had to have taken them unless it got mailed back in its own in a different box, because it's just not here. And that's probably a Unity thing. They probably couldn't find a Unity asset for a Laserdisc player that would match close enough. But no VHS players either.
You know that feeling?
That's
where
stuff
the
I
first
don't want
moment
to
you see someone, it's
do.
like they have
Though
a
is I
big gold
don't
star
want to pick up
around them,
items
and you have to get
and
to know
start dialogue
them.
like
Well,
this.
there's this girl. I think she's a senior. She's usually dressed kind of punk, but sometimes I see her in this like army uniform. She's always drawing in this notebook, looking so intense. I had no idea how I would ever like have an excuse to talk to her. Till I noticed she and her friends hang out and play Street Fighter at the 7-Eleven every day after school.
So, yeah, I don't want to start too much of those conversations because that was all in the main game. You can go back and check those out if you want. Also, I also want to try to avoid playing cassettes and tapes for two reasons on that. One, I don't want to listen to that music again. I'm sure people do like that style of music, it's just not for me. Let me leave it at that. And also, it all gets content ID'd by YouTube. So, that's a problem too. Here's another plug under a rug. I guess that is a very 1995 thing to do, is create fire hazards. Well, so we did the main entrance, the lobby and the main entrance, and the office and the library. So in 40 minutes, I think we've made some considerable progress into the house, knowing how big it is now. Once we have the full house mapped out, I want to kind of point out the weird architecture of this house because it's very weird. It feels like perhaps it had been added on to multiple times, and unless some of these, I'm hoping some of these developer commentaries explain like the secret passages and what's going on a little bit more, because we were really left with a lot of just red herrings that were left dangling. No real explanation of any of that stuff, and I'm hoping some of the commentary gets into that. I like the commentary alright so far. It seems very introductory, just talking about a few things of small interest, but I'm hoping it gets more into the story. Anywho, that's going to be it for our first episode of Gone Home Director's Commentary. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All of that helps me out. If you want to support me, you can click on my name, Rydo. On the right will be a blue button that says support this channel. And if you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.